Stop scrolling for a second, because the coins in your pocket might be hiding something far bigger than 25 cents. Every day across America, people spend quarters at gas stations, grocery stores, and vending machines without realizing they might be handing away a silent fortune. A cashier drops a coin into the register. A customer tosses one into a jar. And just like that, a hidden treasure disappears back into circulation. Most people never check their change carefully. But collectors know that some ordinary-looking state quarters have shocked the market with unbelievable prices. In this video, we are revealing 7 state quarters that have stunned collectors at auction. The first one, a 2000 Massachusetts quarter with the Denver Mint mark, has reached around $70,000 in the collector market. Another surprising discovery is the 2000 Virginia quarter from Denver, which has climbed to about $51,000. Then there's the 2019 Lowell quarter with a D Mint mark, a modern coin many people still spend, yet it has sold for roughly $48,000. But it doesn't stop there. A 2003 Alabama quarter with a Philadelphia Mint mark, even with natural black spotting, has shocked collectors by reaching around $95,000. The 2009 Guam quarter from Philadelphia has climbed to about $82,000, while the 2009 District of Columbia quarter struck in Denver has reached roughly $48,000 in the market. And finally, a 2003 Arkansas quarter with a Denver Mint mark has surprised collectors with a value around $71,000. So, before you spend another quarter, check your pocket, your car, or that jar of loose change at home. Because one small coin you almost ignore might actually be a hidden treasure collectors are desperately searching for. Picture a quiet afternoon inside a small convenience store somewhere in America. A customer digs into their pocket, pulls out a handful of loose change, and drops a quarter on the counter without a second thought. The cashier barely glances at it before sliding it into the register. To anyone watching, it looks like just another modern quarter. But hidden within that ordinary transaction is a coin collectors have chased for years, the 2000 Massachusetts state quarter with the Denver Mint mark. What makes this moment almost painful for collectors is how often this coin disappears into circulation. Most people miss this. And when they do, they unknowingly spend something that could be worth more than a luxury car. The story of this quarter begins at the dawn of a historic coin program launched by the United States Mint known as the State Quarters Series. In the year 2000, one of the early releases celebrated the state of Massachusetts, the 6th state to join the Union back in 1788. Millions of Americans were collecting these quarters casually at the time, but few realized that certain mint conditions, survival rates, and preserved specimens would turn a seemingly common coin into a future collector obsession. The Denver facility, identified by the tiny D Mint mark, produced massive quantities for circulation. But here's the catch that collectors understand. Survival in high-grade condition is far rarer than original mintage numbers suggest. Now take a close look at the front of this coin. The obverse design carries the instantly recognizable portrait of George Washington facing left, a design that traces its origin back to 1932. Above the portrait, the word Liberty arcs across the top. Just to the left appears the phrase, "In God We Trust," while the year 2000 sits beneath Washington's bust. Pay attention to the small letter near the ponytail ribbon. That tiny D Mint mark indicates it was struck in Denver. Collectors inspect this area carefully because sharp mint marks often indicate better strike quality. The rim features a reeded edge with tightly spaced grooves designed originally to prevent silver clipping centuries ago. Turn the coin over, and the reverse tells a story deeply rooted in American history. The design shows the famous Minuteman statue from Minute Man National Historical Park standing ready with a musket, symbolizing the revolutionary spirit that helped ignite the American Revolutionary War. Beneath the figure appears the outline of the state. Around the outer edge are the inscriptions: United States of America, quarter dollar, Massachusetts, and the year 1788, commemorating the state's entry into the Union. Most people glance at this design and move on. But collectors pause. They examine strike sharpness, surface preservation, and even microscopic marks invisible to the naked eye. Technically speaking, this quarter follows the modern clad composition used in circulation coinage. The coin consists of a copper core layered with cupronickel, giving it that familiar silvery appearance. Its weight is precisely 5.67 grams. The diameter measures 24.26 millimeters. The thickness sits around 1.75 millimeters, and the edge features 119 reeds. These numbers might sound like simple specifications, but collectors use them to verify authenticity and detect altered coins. Even a fraction of a gram difference can signal damage, wear, or tampering. Here's where things become fascinating. Although millions of these coins were minted, very few survive in what collectors call very fine or better preserved states without damage, cleaning, or heavy wear. Coins that lived quietly inside drawers, sealed jars, or forgotten bank rolls avoided the friction of daily commerce. And that survival story dramatically affects value. Most people miss this detail entirely. A coin that circulated heavily for years might only be worth face value, while one preserved in better condition can become a silent fortune. Surface condition matters more than most people realize. Natural toning, the subtle rainbow or gray hues that develop as metal reacts slowly with air, can actually increase collector interest. But here's the danger. Many people attempt to clean their coins thinking it will increase value. It does the opposite. Cleaning strips away the original surface, leaving microscopic scratches and chemical damage. Professional grading services instantly recognize this. Once a coin is cleaned, its collectible value can collapse permanently. Now imagine the tension inside a high-end coin auction. The room is quiet, almost ceremonial. Collectors sit in rows holding numbered paddles, each one aware that the coin on display is not just metal, it's a rare survivor. The auctioneer lifts the 2000 Massachusetts Denver Mint quarter under bright lights. Experts lean forward. Phones connect remote bidders from across the country. The opening bid begins modestly. Then another paddle rises. And another. Prices climb faster than anyone outside the numismatic world would expect. Stay with me, because this changes everything. The bidding crosses $5,000. Murmurs ripple across the room. Someone on the phone pushes the number higher. 10,000. 15,000. The tension becomes almost unbearable as collectors fight for ownership of a coin that once bought nothing more than a vending machine snack. The hammer pauses in midair as one final bidder raises a paddle. Then the number appears that shocks everyone watching. $70,000. Yes, $70,000 for a single 2000 Massachusetts state quarter with a Denver Mint mark preserved in very fine collectible condition. That's more than many new cars. And the most unbelievable part is that coins like this still slip through circulation because people simply don't recognize them. Do not spend this coin. If you ever come across one, resist the urge to clean it or polish it. Leave the surface exactly as it is. Store it safely in a protective holder and consider professional grading. Authentication and grading can confirm condition, preserve value, and protect you from selling it too quickly to someone who understands its worth better than you do. Because somewhere tonight, someone is emptying a pocket, dropping a quarter on a table, and unknowingly letting go of what collectors would call a hidden treasure. A silent fortune waiting to be recognized. And the truly shocking part is this. The next coin we're about to reveal becomes even rarer. A man stood at a crowded flea market table early on a Saturday morning, digging through a jar filled with loose change that the vendor was selling for face value. Pennies, nickels, dimes, and a handful of quarters clinking together like ordinary metal. Nothing about the scene looked unusual. People walked past without stopping. But then one collector froze for a second. In the pile was a quarter dated 2000 with the word Virginia stamped across the back. Most people would toss it back without thinking. But experienced collectors know that certain state quarters quietly hide inside everyday change like buried treasure. Stay with me, because what happens next is something most people never expect from a coin that once bought a stick of gum. The coin in question was the 2000 Virginia state quarter struck at the Denver Mint, marked by the small d near the date on the obverse. At first glance, it looks like millions of others that circulated during the early days of the state quarter program created by the United States Mint. But collectors learned over time that survival rates, not mintages, determine real rarity. Many coins were spent, scratched, dropped, stacked in vending machines, and worn down by years of daily use. Only a small fraction survived with enough detail intact to attract serious collector attention. Most people miss this completely. They assume modern quarters cannot be valuable. But sometimes the quietest coins become the most surprising discoveries. Take a close look at the front of the coin, known as the obverse. It features the familiar portrait of George Washington facing left, a design originally introduced in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of his birth. Above his head, the bold inscription, "Liberty," curves along the rim. Just to the left of Washington's profile appears the phrase, "In God We Trust." Beneath the portrait sits the year 2000, and just beside it is the tiny but crucial mint mark D, indicating the coin was struck in Denver. Collectors often lean in with magnification here because sharp lettering and clear mint marks suggest a better strike and stronger preservation. Turn the coin over, and the reverse design immediately tells a piece of American history. The state quarter for Virginia celebrates the historic voyage that established one of the earliest English settlements in North America. 3 ships appear sailing across the water: the Susan Constant, the Godspeed, and the Discovery, representing the 1607 expedition that led to the founding of Jamestown. Around the rim of the coin are the inscriptions, "United States of America," $quarter, "Virginia," and the year 1788, the year Virginia ratified the Constitution and joined the Union. Beneath the ships is the phrase Jamestown 1607 to 2007, honoring the settlement's 400th anniversary celebration that inspired the coin's design. What most people never consider is how precise the engineering of this coin really is. The Virginia state quarter follows the modern clad composition used in circulation by the United States Mint. Its outer layers are made of cupronickel bonded to a pure copper core. This layered construction gives the coin its silver appearance while maintaining durability for circulation. The total weight is exactly 5.67 grams. The diameter measures 24.26 millimeters from edge to edge. The thickness sits around 1.75 millimeters, and the edge contains finely cut reeds running vertically along the rim. These grooves once served a critical anti-counterfeiting function centuries ago when precious metal coins could be shaved along the edges. Now here is where the story becomes more interesting. Even though millions of Virginia quarters were struck in 2000, only a limited number survived the harsh environment of circulation in collectible condition. A coin graded in fine condition still retains recognizable detail in the ships, the lettering, and Washington's profile, but shows moderate wear from years of use. This balance between survival and preservation is exactly what creates collector demand. Coins that manage to avoid excessive scratches, deep marks, or chemical damage become far more desirable in the market. Pay attention to this detail because it changes everything for collectors. Surface originality matters more than shine. Many people mistakenly polish their coins thinking it increases value. In reality, cleaning destroys the microscopic texture created during the minting process. Once that original surface is removed, professional graders can detect the damage instantly. A cleaned coin often loses most of its collectible value. Natural toning, however, can be a completely different story. Subtle shades of gray, gold, or blue created by slow oxidation over time can actually make a coin more attractive to experienced collectors. Collector demand for certain state quarters has grown steadily over the years as more people revisit the series looking for overlooked pieces. Many coins from the early releases, including the Virginia quarter, spent years moving quietly through commerce before collectors realized how difficult certain preserved examples would become to find. Bank rolls were opened, jars were searched, and coin dealers began receiving calls from people who suddenly wondered whether the change sitting in their kitchen drawer might contain something special. Imagine now a different setting entirely, an elite numismatic auction room. The lighting is soft but focused on a single display case at the front of the stage. Inside rests a carefully graded 2000 Virginia state quarter with a Denver mint mark. Collectors sit quietly, flipping through catalog pages and examining notes about strike quality and preservation. The auctioneer lifts the coin, letting the lights reveal the details of the ship's and Washington's portrait. For a moment, the room is silent. The opening bid begins cautiously. A paddle lifts in the back row. Another bidder joins from a phone line connected to someone hundreds of miles away. The price starts climbing slowly. $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. People unfamiliar with coin collecting would find the scene unbelievable. After all, this coin once circulated as 25 cents. But inside the auction room, everyone understands what they are watching. A preserved survivor from everyday circulation that almost disappeared unnoticed. Stay with me, because what happens next is shocking. Another bidder raises their paddle without hesitation. The auctioneer's voice speeds up. $15,000, $20,000. The tension builds as two determined collectors begin competing against each other. Every new bid echoes through the room like a heartbeat. Observers lean forward in their chairs. Some shake their heads in disbelief. Then the number crosses into territory few people ever associate with a modern quarter. The hammer finally falls at $51,000. Yes, $51,000 for a 2000 Virginia state quarter struck in Denver and preserved in collectible fine condition. A coin that once sat unnoticed in pockets, vending machines, and grocery store change trays. Do not spend this coin. If you find one, the most important thing you can do is protect it exactly as it is. Never clean it. Never polish it. Place it in a protective holder to avoid scratches and consider submitting it to a professional grading service. Authentication, condition grading, and secure encapsulation can dramatically influence its future value. Because somewhere right now, someone is emptying their pockets onto a kitchen table, sliding a few quarters into a jar, and unknowingly dropping a hidden fortune among ordinary change. Most people will never notice the tiny Denver mint mark or the ship sailing across the reverse. But collectors do. And that difference, the ability to recognize what others ignore, is exactly what turns 25 cents into a silent treasure. A retired bank teller once told a story that collectors still repeat today. After decades of handling cash, she developed a quiet habit. Every time a fresh roll of quarters came through the counter, she would open one and quickly scan the coins before placing them in the drawer. Most of the time, it was nothing special, just shiny coins headed straight back into circulation. But one afternoon in 2019, something caught her eye. A quarter showing a mill girl working beside an industrial loom. It looked ordinary, yet somehow different. She turned it over again, noticing the Denver mint mark and the crisp detail still visible despite circulation. What most customers would spend without a second thought was actually part of a story many collectors completely overlooked. Stay with me, because coins like this are quietly disappearing from circulation while people unknowingly spend them. The coin was part of the America the Beautiful series produced by the United States Mint, a program celebrating national parks and historic sites across the country. In 2019, one of the designs honored the historic mills of Lowell, Massachusetts, a city that played a massive role in America's early industrial revolution. At the time of release, millions of people saw the coin simply as another modern quarter. It passed through vending machines, parking meters, and grocery stores across the country. But the strange reality of coin collecting is that survival in collectible condition often becomes far rarer than original mintage numbers suggest. Coins wear down, scratch against other metal, and slowly lose detail over time. Only a fraction remain preserved enough to interest serious collectors. Take a careful look at the obverse side of the 2019 Lowell quarter. The front design carries the portrait of George Washington facing left, a familiar image that has defined the American quarter for generations. The inscription Liberty curves boldly above his head, while the phrase, "In God We Trust," appears to the left of the portrait. Beneath Washington's neckline sits the date 2019, and just beside it is the small but critical mint mark D, revealing the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Collectors inspect these features carefully because a clear strike, well-defined lettering, and strong rim detail often signal better preservation. Now flip the coin over, and the reverse reveals a scene that feels almost like a snapshot from the 1800s. The design shows a young mill girl working at a loom, surrounded by the machinery that powered the textile industry in early America. The scene represents the workers of the historic mills in Lowell, where thousands of women operated massive weaving machines during the industrial boom of the 19th century. Around the outer rim appear the inscriptions United States of America and E Pluribus Unum. Along the lower edge is the denomination quarter dollar. To the right of the scene, the words Lowell and Massachusetts are engraved, anchoring the design to the historic district that inspired it. Most people glance at this artwork for less than a second before dropping the coin into a cash register. But collectors pause. They examine the fine lines of the loom, the folds of the workers' clothing, and the clarity of the lettering around the rim. These details tell a hidden story about how well the coin survived circulation. A coin graded in fine condition still displays strong design elements, though the highest points show wear from years of movement through pockets and machines. Surprisingly, this balance between wear and preservation can actually make certain coins rarer than people realize. Technically, the Lowell quarter follows the standard clad composition used in modern U.S. circulation coins. It contains an inner core of copper bonded with outer layers of cupronickel, giving the coin its bright silver color. The total weight is precisely 5.67 grams. Its diameter measures 24.26 millimeters, the familiar size of a modern quarter. The thickness is approximately 1.75 millimeters, and the edge is lined with tightly cut reeds circling the rim. Those grooves once served as a security measure centuries ago to prevent precious metal coins from being shaved along the edges. Pay attention to this detail because it matters enormously in the collector world. Coins that survive with their original mint surfaces intact often carry far greater value than those that have been cleaned or altered. Many people make the mistake of polishing their coins to make them shine. But that simple action can destroy microscopic surface textures created during the minting process. Professional graders can detect these changes instantly under magnification. Once cleaned, a coin's collector value often drops dramatically. Another feature collectors study closely is toning, the natural color shift that occurs as metal slowly reacts with air and environmental conditions. On coins like the 2019 Lowell quarter, subtle shades of gray, bronze, or faint blue can appear along the edges or within the design. Instead of reducing value, this natural toning sometimes increases collector appeal because it proves the surface remains untouched. Most people miss this completely. They assume a coin should look shiny and new, when in reality experienced collectors often prefer originality over brilliance. Now imagine a quiet evening inside a professional coin auction. The room is calm but tense. Glass display cases line the front stage, each containing coins that once circulated unnoticed in everyday life. Among them sits a carefully graded 2019 Lowell quarter with a Denver Mint mark. To the outside world, it is still just 25 cents. But the collectors gathered in that room understand something different. They see rarity, survival, and history combined in a small piece of metal. The auctioneer lifts the coin under bright lights so bidders can study the surfaces. Paddles rest quietly on laps. A few collectors lean forward, studying the loom design and the strength of the strike around the lettering. The opening bid starts modestly, but almost immediately a paddle rises from the second row. Another bidder joins from a phone line representing someone across the country. The numbers begin to climb slowly at first. Stay with me, because what happens next surprises everyone watching. The price crosses $5,000. Then $10,000. Murmurs ripple across the room as two determined collectors begin competing against each other. One raises a paddle without hesitation. The other responds instantly. The auctioneer's rhythm speeds up as the bids move higher and higher. Observers sitting in the back rows exchange stunned looks. After all, this coin once rode through grocery store change trays and parking meters. Then the bidding moves into territory few people ever expect from a modern quarter. The hammer finally drops and the room exhales. $48,000. That is the recorded auction market value for a 2019 Lowell quarter struck at the Denver Mint, preserved in collectible fine condition. A coin that might still be hiding in a jar of spare change somewhere tonight. Do not spend this coin. If you happen to find one, the smartest move is patience. Never clean it, never polish it, and avoid touching the surfaces directly with bare fingers. Oils from skin can damage the delicate outer layer over time. Place the coin in a protective holder and consider professional grading from a respected service. Authentication and condition grading help confirm its rarity and preserve its value in the collector market. Because somewhere right now someone is emptying their pockets after a long day, sliding a few quarters onto a table, completely unaware that one of them might be a hidden treasure. A silent fortune disguised as everyday change. And as more collectors begin searching for surviving examples of coins like the Lowell quarter, the number still hiding in circulation continues to shrink. The next time you receive a quarter and change, take a moment to look closely. What seems ordinary to everyone else might be one of the rare pieces collectors are still hoping to find. A young college student once emptied a coffee can full of loose change onto the kitchen table late at night, counting coins to pay for takeout. Quarters rolled across the wood surface, spinning and clinking against each other in that familiar metallic sound everyone recognizes. One coin stopped near the edge of the table. At first glance, it looked worn and slightly dull, with a few dark spots scattered across its surface. Most people would assume it was damaged or dirty and toss it into the pile without a second thought. But sometimes the coins people ignore the fastest turn out to be the ones collectors search for the hardest. Stay with me, because the story behind that spotted quarter reveals how an ordinary moment can accidentally send a hidden treasure back into circulation. The coin was a 2003 Alabama state quarter struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small P mint mark beside the date on the obverse. It was part of the historic state quarters program launched by the United States Mint, a series that transformed everyday pocket change into miniature pieces of American history. When the Alabama quarter entered circulation in 2003, millions of Americans saw it simply as another commemorative design. But collectors knew something different was happening. Certain coins from the program would become increasingly difficult to locate in preserved condition as the years passed and circulation slowly erased their original details. The state honored on this coin is Alabama, which joined the United States in the year 1819. That year appears prominently on the reverse of the coin, reminding viewers of the moment Alabama became the 22nd state. During the early 2000s, the state quarter program sparked a collecting craze across the country. Families saved them in albums, banks distributed rolls to curious customers, and children searched their change hoping to complete a full map of all 50 states. Yet even during that excitement, countless coins quietly slipped into heavy circulation, where wear, scratches, and environmental exposure slowly altered their surfaces. Take a closer look at the obverse of the Alabama quarter, and you'll see a design that has become one of the most recognizable portraits in American coinage. The front features George Washington facing left, a profile first introduced on the quarter in 1932 to celebrate the bicentennial of his birth. Above the portrait, the word Liberty curves along the rim. To the left appears the inscription, INGODWE Trust. Beneath Washington's neckline sits the year 2003, and just beside it is the Philadelphia Mint mark P. Collectors often examine this small letter closely because mint marks reveal where a coin was produced, and subtle strike differences can occur between facilities. Flip the coin over, and the reverse reveals a design that stands apart from many other state quarters. Instead of buildings or landscapes, Alabama chose to honor one of its most beloved historical figures, Helen Keller. The design shows Keller seated and reading a book, symbolizing perseverance and intellectual achievement despite being both deaf and blind. Above the image appears her name, Helen Keller, written in both English and Braille, making this the first circulating U.S. coin to feature Braille lettering. Around the rim are the inscriptions United States of America, quarter dollar, and E pluribus unum. Beneath Keller's portrait appears Alabama, along with the year 1819. Most people glance at this design and admire the symbolism for a brief moment before spending the coin. But collectors look deeper. They examine the Braille dots, the detail in Keller's clothing, and the crispness of the lettering around the rim. These small details reveal how much wear the coin has experienced during circulation. A coin in fine condition still retains clear outlines in the portrait and lettering, though the highest points show moderate smoothing from years of use. Technically, the Alabama state quarter follows the same clad composition used in modern U.S. circulating coinage. The coin contains a pure copper core layered with outer surfaces of cupronickel, giving it the familiar silvery appearance seen in everyday quarters. Its official weight is 5.67 grams. The diameter measures 24.26 millimeters across the face of the coin. Thickness is approximately 1.75 millimeters, and the edge is decorated with evenly spaced reeds running around the rim. These ridges were originally introduced centuries ago to prevent precious metal coins from being shaved along the edges. Now here is where things become especially interesting. Some Alabama quarters display dark spotting across their surfaces, a phenomenon collectors sometimes refer to as environmental toning or oxidation spotting. Many people assume these black spots mean the coin is ruined or worthless. But in certain cases, they actually confirm that the coin has not been cleaned or chemically altered. Original surfaces, even with natural spotting, can be far more desirable than a coin that has been polished to unnatural brightness. Pay attention to this detail because it changes everything for collectors. Cleaning a coin almost always destroys its value. The moment a cloth, chemical solution, or abrasive tool touches the surface, microscopic mint luster disappears forever. Professional graders can spot these alterations instantly under magnification. A cleaned coin might still look shiny to the average person, but in the collector world, that shine often signals permanent damage. Demand for historically unique state quarters has grown steadily over the years, especially those featuring unusual design elements like the Braille lettering on the Alabama coin. Collectors appreciate coins that tell stories beyond simple imagery. The Alabama quarter represents determination, education, and a remarkable life that inspired generations. Because of that symbolism, collectors began searching for well-preserved examples long after most of them had already been spent in everyday commerce. Imagine now a quiet auction hall where serious coin collectors gather for an evening sale. Glass cases glow under soft lights while bidders sit with numbered paddles resting against their knees. Inside one display rests a carefully examined 2003 Alabama quarter with the Philadelphia Mint mark. To the outside world, it might still appear like a worn piece of pocket change. But inside that room, everyone understands they are looking at something increasingly difficult to find. The auctioneer lifts the coin gently with gloved hands, tilting it so the light catches the Braille dots and the portrait of Helen Keller. A murmur moves through the crowd as collectors review their notes about surface originality and preservation. The opening bid begins modestly, but almost immediately a paddle rises from the middle row. Another bidder joins through a phone line connected to someone watching from hundreds of miles away. The price begins climbing. $5,000, $8,000, $10,000. Stay with me because what happens next shocks even experienced collectors. Two determined bidders begin pushing the number higher with quick, confident signals. $15,000, $20,000. The room grows tense as observers realize the coin on the stage, once spent countless times at grocery stores and gas stations, is about to reach an astonishing level. The auctioneer's rhythm speeds up as the competition narrows to just two collectors. $30,000, $50,000, $70,000. Then one final paddle rises. The hammer comes down, and the final number echoes across the silent room. $95,000. Yes, $95,000 for a 2003 Alabama state quarter struck in Philadelphia, preserved in fine condition with its natural surfaces intact. A coin many people would dismiss simply because of the dark spots scattered across the metal. Do not spend this coin. If you ever find one, the most important thing you can do is protect it exactly as it is. Never attempt to remove the spotting, never polish it, and never scrub the surface. Store the coin in a protective holder and consider professional grading from a respected service. Authentication and condition grading can preserve the coin's history and help confirm its value in the collector market. Because somewhere tonight someone will open a jar of loose change, see a spotted Alabama quarter, and assume it is nothing more than damaged metal. They will slide it across a counter or drop it into a vending machine without a second thought. And in that quiet moment, a hidden treasure, one collectors would eagerly chase, will disappear back into circulation once again. A collector once told a story about a routine bank visit that turned into something unforgettable. He wasn't searching for treasure that day. In fact, he was simply exchanging a few bills for rolls of quarters to use in a laundromat. The teller slid the rolls across the counter, each one packed tightly with coins that looked identical from the outside. Later that evening, while opening the paper wrapper, a single coin slipped out and rolled across the table. The design looked unfamiliar, an island shape, a sailing canoe, and the word Guam. Most people would glance at it for half a second before tossing it into a change jar. But sometimes the coins people overlook the fastest are the ones collectors dream about finding. Stay with me, because this seemingly ordinary quarter carries a story that many people unknowingly spend every day. The coin belongs to the 2009 District of Columbia and U.S. Territories Quarter Series produced by the United States Mint. After the success of the original state quarters program, the Mint expanded the idea to honor U.S. territories, including Guam. When the Guam quarter entered circulation in 2009, millions of Americans encountered the design in everyday transactions. It passed through grocery stores, gas stations, and vending machines without drawing much attention. Yet as years passed, collectors realized that surviving examples in better condition were becoming harder to locate than anyone originally expected. Take a close look at the obverse of the coin. Like most modern American quarters, it features the left-facing portrait of George Washington. Above his head, the bold inscription, "Liberty," arcs along the rim of the coin. To the left of Washington's profile appears the phrase, "In God We Trust." Beneath the portrait sits the year 2009, accompanied by the small P Mint mark indicating the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Collectors examined this area carefully because the clarity of the lettering and the strength of the strike often reveal how well the coin survived circulation. Now turn the coin over, and the reverse immediately tells a story of island culture and Pacific history. The design shows the outline of Guam with a traditional flying proa canoe sailing across the water. Alongside the canoe appears a latte stone, a pillar structure that served as the foundation for ancient Chamorro homes. These elements represent the heritage and resilience of the Chamorro people who have lived on the island for centuries. Around the design are the inscriptions, "United States of America, Guam," and the motto, "Where America's day begins," reflecting Guam's geographic position as one of the first places under U.S. jurisdiction to greet the morning sun. Beneath the design sits the denomination quarter dollar, along with the inscription, "E pluribus unum." Most people see this artwork briefly and move on, assuming it is simply another commemorative coin. But collectors know something important. Coins with distinctive designs from limited series often become harder to locate over time, especially when they circulate heavily for years. A coin preserved in very fine condition still retains strong detail in the canoe, the latte stone, and the lettering along the rim, though the highest points show signs of wear. That balance between use and preservation is exactly what draws collectors to these pieces. Technically, the Guam quarter follows the modern clad composition used for circulating U.S. coinage. The coin consists of a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of cupronickel. This layered structure gives the coin its silvery appearance while maintaining durability for everyday transactions. The total weight is precisely 5.67 grams. The diameter measures 24.26 millimeters, a size familiar to anyone who has handled an American quarter. The thickness is approximately 1.75 millimeters, and the rim features tightly spaced reeded edges circling the entire coin. These grooves once served a practical purpose centuries ago, when precious metal coins needed protection from being shaved along their edges. Pay attention to this detail because it matters enormously in the collector world. The surface condition of a coin often determines whether it becomes desirable or ignored. Many people believe polishing a coin increases its value. In reality, cleaning is one of the fastest ways to destroy a collectible coin. The minting process creates microscopic flow lines across the metal that reflect light in a distinctive way known as mint luster. When someone scrubs or polishes the surface, those delicate patterns vanish permanently. Professional graders can detect this damage instantly. Natural toning, however, tells a different story. Over time, coins can develop subtle shades of gray, gold, or even faint blue hues along their surfaces. These colors form naturally through slow chemical reactions between the metal and its environment. Instead of reducing value, natural toning often confirms the coin has remained untouched for years. Collectors actually seek out coins with original surfaces because they preserve the authenticity of the piece. Another factor that contributes to the rarity of the Guam quarter in collectible condition is the reality of circulation. Coins move through thousands of hands during their lifetime. They bounce through vending machines, scrape against other coins in pockets, and endure years of friction inside cash registers. Every small scratch and impact slowly erases detail. That is why finding one in very fine condition can become surprisingly difficult after years of heavy use. Now imagine the atmosphere inside a professional numismatic auction. The room is dim except for bright lights illuminating a display platform at the front. Inside a protective holder sits a carefully examined 2009 Guam quarter with the Philadelphia Mint mark. To most people outside that room, it would appear to be nothing more than spare change. But the collectors gathered there understand something different. They see a surviving example of a coin that rarely appears in preserved condition anymore. The auctioneer raises the coin so the lights reflect across the design of the flying proa canoe. Bidders flip through catalog pages while studying notes about surface quality and preservation. The opening bid begins quietly, almost cautiously. A paddle rises from the back of the room. Another bidder joins through a phone line representing someone watching the auction remotely. The numbers begin climbing. $5,000, $7,000, $10,000. Stay with me, because what happens next surprises everyone watching. Two collectors begin competing with quick, confident bids. The auctioneer's voice grows faster as the numbers increase. $15,000, $20,000. The observers seated along the walls exchange stunned glances. It is difficult to believe that a coin originally worth only 25 cents could reach this level. But the bidding does not stop there. $30,000, $40,000, $60,000. The room becomes silent as the competition narrows to just two determined bidders. Each new paddle lift pushes the price higher. The tension builds until finally one last bid echoes across the hall. The hammer falls. $82,000. Yes, $82,000 for a 2009 Guam quarter struck in Philadelphia and preserved in very fine condition. A coin that may still be hiding in a pocket, a cash register, or a forgotten jar of change somewhere tonight. Do not spend this coin. If you ever find one, the smartest move is patience. Never clean it. Never polish the surface. Place it carefully into a protective holder to prevent additional scratches. Serious collectors often send coins like this to professional grading services where experts authenticate the piece and assign an official condition grade. That grading process can protect the coin's reputation and help confirm its value in the market. Because right now, someone might be dropping a Guam quarter into a parking meter or feeding it into a vending machine without realizing what they are holding. A coin that quietly traveled through everyday circulation. A silent treasure hiding among ordinary change. And as collectors continue searching for surviving examples, the number of these coins left in circulation grows smaller every year. The next quarter you receive in change might look ordinary. But sometimes, hidden inside that ordinary moment is a piece of history worth far more than anyone expects. Late one evening, a restaurant server was closing out a long shift, counting tips and separating bills from loose change. Quarters clinked into a small tray beside the register as customers paid their tabs and headed out the door. Among those coins was one that looked slightly different, an image of a pianist sitting at a grand piano. The server didn't notice. The coin slid into the register with the others, waiting to be handed out again the next day. Moments like this happen thousands of times every night across the country. Ordinary transactions quietly move coins from one hand to another. But sometimes those coins carry stories collectors would pay serious money to own. Stay with me, because this particular quarter represents a hidden treasure that people unknowingly spend every single day. The coin in question comes from the 2009 District of Columbia and U.S. Territory series produced by the United States Mint. After the massive success of the original state quarter program, the Mint expanded the concept to honor the nation's capital and its territories. In 2009, the District of Columbia quarter entered circulation, celebrating one of the most influential musicians in American history. Millions of these coins passed through stores, transit systems, and vending machines without drawing much attention. Yet, as the years went by, collectors realized that preserved examples were becoming more difficult to find than expected. Take a careful look at the front of the coin, known as the obverse. Like nearly every American quarter minted for decades, it features the familiar portrait of George Washington facing left. The word Liberty arches across the top of the coin in bold capital letters. Just to the left of Washington's profile appears the inscription, INGODWE Trust. Beneath the portrait sits the date 2009, and right beside it is the small D Mint mark, indicating the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Collectors often study this area carefully because the clarity of the strike, the sharpness of the letters, and the strength of the rim can reveal how well the coin survived its journey through circulation. Turn the coin over, and the reverse design immediately captures attention. It features legendary jazz musician Duke Ellington seated at a grand piano, his hands poised over the keys as if the music is about to begin. The design pays tribute to Ellington's extraordinary influence on American jazz and cultural history. Above the image appears the inscription, District of Columbia. To the right of the piano is the phrase, Justice FORALL, the official motto of the district. Around the rim are the words United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and quarter dollar. The entire scene transforms a simple coin into a tribute to creativity and heritage. Most people who encounter this coin glance at the artwork briefly before spending it, but collectors examine it much more closely. They study the fine details in the piano keys, the lines in Ellington's suit, and the crispness of the lettering surrounding the design. A coin in fine condition still displays recognizable detail across the design, though the highest points, like the edges of the piano and the folds of Ellington's clothing, show moderate wear from years of use. That level of preservation, surprisingly, can make surviving examples far more desirable than heavily worn coins. Technically speaking, the District of Columbia quarter follows the same clad composition used in modern American circulating coinage. The coin contains a pure copper core bonded between outer layers of cupronickel. This layered structure gives the coin its familiar silver appearance while maintaining strength for daily use. The total weight is precisely 5.67 grams. The diameter measures 24.26 millimeters across the face of the coin. Its thickness is approximately 1.75 millimeters, and the rim features tightly spaced reeded edges circling the coin. These grooves were historically introduced to prevent people from shaving precious metal from the edges of coins centuries ago. One detail that many people overlook is how fragile the original surface of a coin really is. The minting process creates microscopic lines across the metal that reflect light in a particular way known as mint luster. When coins circulate, those lines slowly fade as friction from pockets, machines, and other coins wears them away. A coin that still retains visible surface texture, even in fine condition, can attract far more attention from collectors than one that has been damaged or altered. This brings up one of the most important rules in coin collecting. Never clean a coin. Many people believe polishing a coin increases its value because it looks brighter. In reality, cleaning destroys the natural surface created during the minting process. Under magnification, professional graders can see tiny scratches and chemical residue left behind by polishing attempts. Once a coin has been cleaned, its collectible value often drops dramatically. Natural toning, however, can be a different story. Over time, exposure to air and environmental conditions can create subtle color changes across the metal. Soft shades of gray, gold, or even faint blues sometimes appear. These colors form naturally and often confirm that the coin's surface remains untouched. Collectors usually prefer original surfaces over artificially bright ones because they preserve the authenticity of the piece. Now imagine stepping into a professional coin auction where collectors gather from across the country. The room is quiet, filled with glass display cases and soft lighting focused on a single platform at the front. Inside one of those cases sits a carefully examined 2009 District of Columbia quarter with the Denver Mint mark. To someone unfamiliar with coin collecting, it might still look like spare change. But to the bidders in that room, it represents something far more interesting, a surviving piece of history hidden within everyday circulation. The auctioneer lifts the coin with gloved hands and tilts it slightly so the light reveals the details of the piano and the portrait of Duke Ellington. A few collectors lean forward in their chairs while others glance at their catalog notes describing the coin's condition. The opening bid begins cautiously. One paddle rises from the side of the room. Another bidder joins through a phone connection representing a collector watching from hundreds of miles away. The price begins climbing. $3,000, $5,000, $8,000. Stay with me, because what happens next surprises nearly everyone watching. Two determined bidders begin competing more aggressively. The auctioneer's voice quickens as the numbers increase. 10,000. 15,000. The room grows quieter with every new bid. Observers seated along the walls exchange stunned looks, realizing the coin once spent countless times in grocery stores and parking meters is about to reach an astonishing level. The bidding continues. 20,000. 30,000. 40,000. Finally, after one last paddle rises, the auctioneer brings the hammer down. $48,000. That is the auction market value recorded for a 2009 District of Columbia quarter struck in Denver and preserved in fine condition. A coin many people unknowingly spend without hesitation because it looks like ordinary pocket change. Do not spend this coin. If you ever come across one, the smartest decision is to leave it exactly as you found it. Never polish it, never scrub the surface, and avoid touching the face of the coin with bare fingers. Oils from skin can slowly damage the metal over time. Place it in a protective holder and consider submitting it to a professional grading service where experts can authenticate the coin and assign an official condition grade. Because somewhere tonight someone is emptying their pockets after a long day, sliding a few quarters onto a countertop, and one of them might carry the image of Duke Ellington at the piano. To most people it will appear ordinary. But to collectors, that small coin represents a piece of American culture that quietly slipped through circulation. A hidden treasure moving from hand to hand, waiting for the moment someone finally recognizes what it really is. A man once pulled into a quiet roadside gas station late at night somewhere along a long highway. The kind of place where the fluorescent lights buzz softly and the parking lot sits mostly empty. He paid for a drink and a snack with cash, and the cashier dropped a few quarters into his hand as change. Without even glancing down, he slid them into the cup holder of his car and drove away. That small moment probably felt completely ordinary. But collectors hear stories like this all the time because hidden among those everyday coins can be pieces of history people unknowingly spend. Stay with me because the final coin in this journey might be one of the most surprising treasures quietly circulating in America today. This coin comes from the Historic State Quarters program created by the United States Mint, a series that transformed everyday pocket change into miniature history lessons about each state. In 2003, one of the featured designs celebrated the state of Arkansas, which joined the United States in the year 1836. When these quarters first entered circulation, they appeared in grocery store registers, vending machines, and gas stations all across the country. Millions of people handled them without realizing that years later certain surviving examples would become increasingly difficult to find in preserved condition. Take a close look at the front of the coin, known as the obverse. It features the familiar portrait of George Washington facing left, a design that has defined the American quarter since 1932. The word Liberty curves boldly across the top of the coin. Just to the left of Washington's profile appears the inscription, "In God We Trust." Beneath the portrait sits the year 2003, and beside it is the small D Mint mark identifying the Denver Mint as the place where this coin was struck. Collectors often examine these details closely because a clear strike and strong lettering reveal how well the coin survived years of circulation. Now turn the coin over, and the reverse design immediately reflects the natural beauty associated with Arkansas. The center of the design shows a diamond shape, symbolizing the famous diamond deposits found within the state. Below the diamond appears a mallard duck gliding gracefully over water, representing Arkansas' strong connection to wildlife and wetland habitats. Nearby, a stalk of rice highlights one of the state's most important agricultural crops. Around the design appear the inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and $quarter. Above the imagery sits the name Arkansas, while below it the year 1836 marks the state's admission into the Union. Most people see these designs briefly and then move on with their day. But collectors study them carefully. They look for the sharpness of the duck's feathers, the clarity of the diamond outline, and the strength of the lettering around the rim. A coin in fine condition still displays recognizable details in these areas, though the highest points of the design may show moderate wear from years of movement through pockets, cash registers, and machines. Technically speaking, the Arkansas State Quarter follows the standard clad composition used in modern U.S. coinage. The coin contains a copper core layered between outer surfaces of cupronickel. This combination gives the quarter its bright silver appearance while maintaining durability in circulation. The coin weighs precisely 5.67 grams. Its diameter measures 24.26 millimeters across the face. The thickness is approximately 1.75 millimeters, and the rim features a reeded edge made up of evenly spaced grooves circling the coin. These grooves were originally introduced centuries ago to prevent people from shaving precious metal from the edges of coins. One feature that many people overlook is the significance of surface originality. When a coin leaves the mint, its surface contains microscopic flow lines that reflect light in a distinctive pattern known as mint luster. As coins circulate, these lines gradually wear away due to friction and handling. A coin that still retains some of these natural textures, even in fine condition, can become far more desirable to collectors than one that has been damaged or altered. This leads to one of the most important warnings in coin collecting. Never clean a coin. Many people assume polishing or scrubbing a coin will increase its value because it looks shinier. In reality, cleaning removes the delicate surface created during the minting process. Under magnification, professional graders can instantly detect the scratches and residue left behind by polishing attempts. Once a coin has been cleaned, its collectible value can drop dramatically. Natural toning, however, is often welcomed by collectors. Over time, subtle shades of gray, gold, or faint blue can develop on the surface as the metal reacts slowly with the surrounding environment. These colors are signs that the coin has aged naturally without artificial interference. Collectors often prefer such originality because it preserves the authenticity of the piece. Now imagine the scene inside a professional numismatic auction. The room is filled with quiet anticipation. Glass display cases line the front of the stage while collectors sit with numbered paddles resting on their laps. Inside one of the cases sits a carefully preserved 2003 Arkansas quarter with the Denver Mint mark. To an outsider, it may look like an ordinary piece of change, but to the people gathered in that room, it represents a surviving example of a coin that rarely appears in collectible condition anymore. The auctioneer lifts the coin with gloved hands and tilts it slightly so the light reflects across the mallard duck and the diamond emblem. Bidders lean forward to study the surfaces and confirm the coin's condition. The opening bid begins modestly. A paddle rises near the front row. Another bidder joins through a phone connection representing someone watching the auction from another state. The price begins to climb. $3,000, $5,000, $8,000. Stay with me, because what happens next captures the attention of everyone in the room. Two collectors begin competing more aggressively. The auctioneer's rhythm speeds up as the numbers increase. 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Observers sitting along the walls exchange astonished looks. After all, this coin once moved through countless grocery store transactions without drawing any attention. But the bidding continues. 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. The room grows silent as the competition narrows to just two determined bidders raising their paddles again and again. The tension builds until one final bid echoes across the hall. The hammer falls. $71,000. Yes, $71,000 for a 2003 Arkansas state quarter struck at the Denver Mint and preserved in fine condition. A coin that many people might still be unknowingly carrying in their pockets or tossing into a jar of spare change tonight. Do not spend this coin. If you ever find one, resist the temptation to clean it or polish it. Place it carefully into a protective holder to prevent scratches and further wear. Many serious collectors choose to submit coins like this to professional grading services where experts authenticate the coin and assign an official condition grade. That certification can help protect its value and reputation in the collector market. And now that we've reached the final coin in this journey, think about what we've uncovered together. 7 quarters, coins most people would consider nothing more than spare change, each hiding stories of rarity, history, and astonishing value. From historic states to distant territories, these small pieces of metal remind us that hidden treasures often travel quietly through everyday life. Somewhere tonight, someone will empty their pockets onto a kitchen counter, letting a few quarters roll across the surface without even looking at them. One of those coins might be worth far more than anyone realizes. That possibility is exactly why collectors keep searching, studying every detail, and paying attention to coins others ignore. So before you spend your next quarter, take a moment and look closely. The design, the mint mark, the condition, those tiny details can change everything. And if this video just saved you from spending a hidden fortune, make sure you subscribe, because the coins we reveal next might already be sitting in your pocket, waiting to be discovered.